160,000. That is how many illegal immigrants have been released into this country just since March by the Biden administration. So right now I got this story pulled up here from Fox News. Apparently we got some leaked Border Patrol documents showing mass release of illegal immigrants into the United States by the Biden administration. Now, not only do these documents show just this egregious number of over 100,000 illegal immigrants being put into this country, but it also shows the abuse of the system with the way these are supposed to work. So this usually goes by a case-by-case basis, where you look at one particular person and make the decision whether this person should be allowed into the country or allowed to stay in the country. Instead, apparently they've been doing this en masse, right? Just for large groups of people. So let's go ahead and get into this here. At least 160,000 illegal immigrants have been released into the U.S., often with little to no supervision by the Biden administration since March, including a broad use of limited parole authorities to make more than 30,000 eligible for work permits since August. Work permits. Now, it drives me crazy because we keep hearing, is that there's that joke, they took our jobs, all that BS, right? Saying, basically trying to make it seem like, the people who are concerned about illegal immigrants coming here and taking jobs are just a bunch of idiots. Here's the reality. Like everything in society, the job market is affected by supply and demand. To put simply, if I only have one of these mugs and I have 3 people who want this mug, I can then charge a higher price for it because there's a higher demand than there is supply. It's a very simple concept, and labor is no different. If you have more demand for work than you have workers, wages actually increase. It's funny, people go, back in the day, people could, support an entire family off one income earner. Except what was the difference back then? Well, back then, women weren't working, women were not in the labor force. And because of that, your labor force was halved. So people had to make more incentives to get people to come to their company rather than other companies. So wages were higher, it was growing at a very fast rate. Companies were more loyal to employees because employees were harder to come by. And then of course, as women started integrating to the workforce, you saw wages start stagnating, as well as companies no longer caring as much because, you just doubled the pool of people who are working. Now, obviously women, everyone has the right to pursue their own, desires and dreams. I think everyone has a right to go and, get a job. I'm not saying women should all just stay home. But what I am saying is a clear example of how supply and demand works. So when you release illegal immigrants to the country, you're going to create a higher supply of workers, which means demand for work starts, it starts meeting the demand for work to a point where you no longer see the increase in salaries. Now, don't get me wrong, we're already at a weird point right now where there's a lot of people who aren't working, and there's a lot of demand for work and not a lot of workers. However, this is primarily due to the fact, again, that the government is actually now paying people to not work. There's a big difference between the two. But either way, what you're really seeing, and one of the things that's beautiful about capitalism, is that employers are starting to pay more. I mean, I saw McDonald's down the road hiring for $22 an hour. $22 an hour for a McDonald's. Man, I couldn't get a job at McDonald's that paid more than $7.50 when I was in high school. And I didn't work at a McDonald's, and I didn't end up working at the McDonald's. But that's what they were hiring people at back when I was growing up, $7.50. Now they're hiring past $20 in some areas. Why? Because they're desperate for people. There's a high demand and a low supply. This is how we start seeing actual wage increase in America. Now, again, we should take away all these welfare programs because that's artificially increasing it all, and that's not sustainable in the long haul. But bringing in more people is a bad thing to do, period. It's just bad to do because it ruins the supply-demand balance, right? You're just diluting it every single time when you bring more illegal immigrants in. That's why we have to be very particular about who we allow in and who we allow to work. So 30,000 are apparently eligible for work permits. So the documents give a partial snapshot into how the Biden administration has been releasing enormous numbers of migrants into the U.S., often with little to no oversight, supervision, or immediate risk of deportation. So this is the leaked document bomb. You can go through all the numbers here. Again, this is from Fox News. Since March 20th, at least 94,000 illegal immigrants have been released into the U.S. with notice to report, which Well, it says right here, those who receive such notice are only required to check in with ICE office when they get to their final destination, which could be anywhere across the country. Now, funny thing, you remember when Biden was being really irritated by a bunch of Republican states, and he actually sent a bunch of illegal immigrants who were all unvaccinated to, I believe it was Tennessee and as well as a couple other states, and then went on the news and said, oh, look at these Republican states. Look, their COVID numbers are so high. Yes, they can send these people wherever the hell they want to. Now, I don't know why you'd want to send a bunch of Hispanics over to a place like Tennessee, which doesn't have a very high Hispanic population. It's kind of weird when you look at where they're actually typically sending a lot of these people to. They're not sending them to places where they have people who actually are also Spanish. Now, that also creates its own issue, right? I mean, of course, you want people to integrate into society, but these are illegal immigrants. These aren't legal immigrants. We all love legal immigrants. I think we still have too much legal immigration personally. But I got nothing against people who want to try to come here. I get it. America's great. America is freaking awesome. I mean, if you don't think America's awesome, man, just read the Constitution one way through, right? I mean, it's an amazing, amazing, amazing country. I understand that people want to come in here. I think that's great. I think it's awesome. I love it. I think we have too much of it, too much immigration, period. But I can at least respect those who want to go through the legal process. What I don't respect is how illegal immigrants get to come into the country and instantly get access to our resources. They instantly get access to it all. And they're doing it, of course, through the taxpayer. Who flies these people? It's coming from your wallet. It's coming from your tax dollars. It's coming from my tax dollars. When they take these people and move them all across the country, our tax dollars have gone to moving around over 100,000 illegal immigrants. How much money does that cost? How much money is really spent on this? That's what I would like to know. Because that's all taxpayer dollars. The government doesn't produce anything. These are taxpayer dollars. This is money that the government holds a gun to your head and says, give me or else. And they use it for this crap. All right, that's a problem. So again, they sent all across the country, and then of course they then have to report to an ICE office, which how many of them actually report to an ICE office afterwards when they can just go about their day? Who's going to chase after them? When you have that many illegal immigrants, who is going to chase after them all? I mean, that's the argument we keep hearing about when it comes to dreamers, that there's too many of them. How are you going to deport them all? And I understand that argument to a certain regard. It makes a little bit of sense. And so when you sit there and bring in this many illegal immigrants and you say, well, they just need to report in. Well, when they choose not to report, how do you keep track of them all? You can't, obviously. So, as it continues, meanwhile, since August 6th, the administration has released over 32,000 immigrants into the U.S. via parole, which gives migrants a form of legal status and the ability to apply for work permits. The federal law states parole authority is to be used on a case-by-case basis for urgent humanitarian purposes. What urgent humanitarian purpose is happening right now? They can say Haiti is a S-hole country, and it's funny they got on Trump for that, but that's their argument right now. Their argument right now is that Haiti is an S-hole, so we need to let these people in. Well, why can't they stay in Mexico? Are they at any immediate danger in Mexico? Or is Mexico also, an S-hole? I mean, it kind of is. Almost all. I don't really think there's any South American country that isn't a little bit of an S-hole. I mean, let's be perfectly real. I love going over there. I love traveling to Central America. I think it's awesome. I love spending time, going scuba diving down there. But the countries are kind of S-holes, right? Unless you already have money and power, you don't have anything in those type of countries. You just don't. So, but what is the immediate humanitarian crisis that they are bringing up right now? Because as far as I can tell, there really isn't much of anything. They're in Mexico, which you claim to be a good place. Why can't they stay there? Simple as that. And significant public benefit. Typically, only a handful of parole cases are granted by officials, but the Biden administration has been using it more broadly, including it in its parole of tens of thousands of Afghans into the United States as part of Operation Allies Welcome. I understand that. I'll come some slack for that because we kind of screwed them over. Like we literally went there and screwed them over. I kind of get why we want to probably allow some of his allies in. I'm not sure about the vetting process for that. How do we know exactly who's coming in? Obviously, a lot of the people in Afghanistan, guess what? Their real support is support of the Taliban. We don't know how many of them got through the process, right? So that's kind of a little bit of an issue. But for those we can actually verify, listen, if you helped us over there, kill terrorists, then, by all means, I think we screwed you over. Come on over. There you go. I'm fine with that one personally. A former Border Patrol Chief Rodney Scott, who served under President Biden, reviewed the documents and told Fox News that he believes the administration is abusing its parole authority. You think? By law and regulation, a parole shall only be granted on a case-by-case basis and only for significant humanitarian reason or significant public benefit. Neither of these appear to apply to the current situation, he said. And the number of paroles brings into question the review and approval process. As a field chief, I don't believe I ever approved more than 5 or 10 paroles in a year, he said. When I did, I ensured the alien was monitored continuously and was detained or removed as soon as circumstances allowed. So that's just it. They really aren't following up with these people. Obviously, they're using it in a very broad sense, just allowing these people to come in, and there is no follow-up here. No follow-up whatsoever. Now, it's kind of funny. The left, I think actually everyone at this point, not just the left, I think left and right, I think we actually kind of all agree with the fact that we shouldn't be as much of intervention, or we shouldn't intervene with many other countries, right? Well, we should be a little bit more on the isolation side, I think. The problem is, though, when you have this level of open immigration, we have this level of people flooding into our country, how are we supposed to say what happens in Haiti isn't our concern? How am I supposed to say, you know what, we should get out of Central and South America? We should, those aren't our countries. Why are we bothering them? Let's just leave them be. I can't say that so long as you say we should allow these people to come into our country whenever they like, because what they do in their countries directly now impacts us. It impacts our workers by the amount of people who are now put into the workforce. It is affecting our citizens in the sense of an increase of crime. It affects our culture by the sense of how many other people of different cultures are coming in, which then of course deludes the individualism that we really try to hold up here in America, that we're of course right now kind of failing at, it seems. Now, every single time there's an issue in these other countries, we're the ones who are having to help them. We're the ones who are having to accept all of their immigrants. We're the ones who have to be the shoulder for them to lean on at all the damn time. So how are we not supposed to get involved in Central America? How are we not supposed to get involved in South America? How are we not supposed to get involved in the Middle East? Whenever something goes wrong in these areas, we then have to bear the burden. Why do we have to pay the price? That's all I'm saying. Why are we paying the price for what they have done to their countries? They have done this to their countries. Make no mistake about it. What happened in Afghanistan? Is that these people allowed the Taliban to take them over. Of course, some of them fought bravely, right? Some of them fought to the bitter end. There's those special forces, of the Afghan military who apparently fought until they completely ran out of ammo, and they fought to the very end. And of course, we should respect that. But the reality of the situation is that the people aren't standing up. And just they aren't. These people have done this to themselves. They have actually allowed a certain ideology to fester in their society to a point that has then helped create these radical factions in their societies. Stuff in the South and Central America. They have created forms of governments that are so corrupt. They've created the problems that these people are fleeing from. And are the people standing up in those countries and demanding change? No. No, they're not. In Cuba, and Venezuela, there's always those protests going on. It's not everyone. You need more people. I hate to say it. You need more people. The people have to start standing up, and in those countries, obviously, they need to probably escalate it further past protests. Let's be honest. I know we have to be very careful about what we say on YouTube, but if you're in some of these just asshole countries, you gotta escalate past protests. It's just the way it is. These people have implemented these governments, and now we are now paying the price for their mistakes. You see kind of the issue here? You see why we can no longer be, again, I want us to no longer be the world police. I do not want us to be the world police anymore. I don't. But until we get a grip on our border, we kind of have to be. Which is why, I don't want to be the world police. Which is why I would much rather us secure the border. It's such a simple thing. It's such a simple thing that we used to all agree on. Bill Clinton said it. Obama said it. Bernie Sanders said that open borders was a Koch brother conspiracy. Which, there's a lot of big business who they want open borders because, again, it deludes the supply, or increases the supply of labor, which of course is going to ruin the balance that's happening there, which allows them to hire people for cheap. Of course they want more immigration of any kind, legal or illegal, it doesn't matter. Bernie Sanders was right about. Like most things, Bernie Sanders is right about the problem and completely wrong about every solution he offers up. But he diagnosed the problem right. That fact is we need to secure our borders. He turned back on that because, of course, he's nothing but a Democrat pawn at this point. He's not an independent whatsoever. Everyone used to agree on this. This used to be everyone agreed on it. And now the Biden administration is letting in almost 200,000 illegal immigrants. And the year's not even over with yet. So what do we do? What do we do? Leave a comment below. I mean, obviously, I would say get involved in local elections, get involved in politics the best you can, start voting these people out. And that's the best thing I can think of at the moment. I don't think we should get to a point where we're too, what's the word? I think we can still do this peacefully, right? I still think we can actually get to where we want peacefully. I know there's people out there who disagree with that. I got some comments on one of my other videos of people saying, you think we can still be peaceful? Yes, I do think we can still be peaceful. I think we can still actually win at these local levels. These local levels will create actual change. If we can get a convention of states, and that comes from the local level, we can make changes that we couldn't believe could happen, right? We have to win at local levels, and that is easy to do, so long as we put in the time and energy to work at it. So that's why I think. But what do you think? Leave a comment below, as well as, of course, if you enjoy this video, hey, give it a thumbs up, like it, as well as, of course, subscribe if you haven't already. All right, try and make a video a day right now during weekdays, so please subscribe to the channel. It really helps out a lot. And of course, thanks so much for watching, and we'll be talking again real soon.